That's one of the fastest growing food movements, and now a new study shows that 1 in 5 of us in the UK would consider a vegan diet. There are now 500,000 vegans in the UK, and the diet has risen by 250% in the last decade. Well, as well as being cited for its health benefits, veganism is said to have positives on the planet. So should we all be going vegan? We can talk to a number of people who are here. You're all going to have to introduce yourselves to me because I haven't met you before. Tim Shieff is a professional English free runner. Yep. Hi, Tim. Good to meet you.
Thank you.
Sean and Jessica are a couple and became vegans just 2 weeks ago. Yep. I'm fascinated to know how that's going. Fresh indeed. Emily. Hi, Emily. Good to see you. Emily became vegan 7 months ago. And we can speak to Ayala Spiro, who is Nutrition Science Manager at the British Nutrition Foundation. Hi, good to see you. And Sophie Medlin, who is a lecturer in nutrition at King's College London. Hi, good to see you all. OK, so Tim, let's start with you. Being a professional athlete and a vegan, some people may think that kind of doesn't go together naturally.
Yeah, I think the experience has changed all of that for me and for anyone that's looked into it. There's plenty of athletes all over the planet now going vegan for their health, to improve their skills, and they're seeing themselves go up in the rankings. And for me, the experience of it, I felt so much better within days. I felt a difference in me as an athlete. It was a test and it was a challenge because I thought maybe I will get worse. I didn't really know. I thought the protein myth and all this stuff. But actually the experience of it was, there was a reward in my decision, and it's just gone from strength to strength from that.
Emily, would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%, definitely. I think it's changed sort of my whole view on eating and what I put in my body.
So what do you eat? Give me an example of what you would eat in an average day.
Lots of potatoes, steamed vegetables. There's loads of vegan cheeses. Every supermarket now sells vegan cheeses. Nuts, crisps. You can eat a lot of the same stuff. You used to eat vegan burgers, lasagnas, but I've had great carbonaras. You know, you can go from the spectrum. So it goes from Whole Foods to everything you used to eat, but a veganized version.
Yeah.
You know.
And you know what's in it typically.
Exactly.
So usually, rather than just stabbing something a few times, whacking it in the microwave or throwing it on the grill, you can put all of the love into it. You can sort of pick it off the shelf, chop it up, throw it into something else, make it into something that you would love to taste, and then typically you know what's gone into that, which is a huge...
I was reading you were a massive meat eater, so this must have been a huge step for you.
And I was the person, I mean, I used to work in a coffee shop, and I'd be tutting when someone would come to the counter and say, what vegan options have you got? I'm going, time wasting, everything else. But ultimately, I've flipped it around. But I mean, it's for me. I mean, we've come today as a couple, but ultimately, having a catalyst for thinking differently is the big thing. I think that's setting the majority of people apart from making a decision like this. Yeah. I wouldn't have made the move. It wasn't something that was in my periphery at all. It wasn't something that, like I say, I was looking at all the stereotypes, wearing sacks and dreadlocks, and I was thinking, okay, this isn't going to go well.
I'm not saying many of those this morning.
But they're there, you know, and they're conceptions to be broken down. And so
does that mean that you forced him to do it?
No, absolutely not. We watched Okja, the film, and it just absolutely had us in tears at the end. We were ethically convinced immediately that there was no reason to kill any animals to eat them if we can do it healthily. And I've had a long-term health condition, and I've seen a dramatic shift in my health in the last 12 days. I've been able, I literally couldn't do anything other than my job. Like, my focus was my job, and now I cycled for 3 hours the other night after work.
You have to wear out now, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's great though, and I've just seen an amazing transformation. I just want to share it with people. I just feel really excited about that.
I want to bring in Sophie, because I want to know, Sophie, if you think, would you recommend anybody becomes a vegan? Is it healthy for us to become vegans?
It can be, but it's really hard work to make a vegan diet healthy. You have to think very carefully about what you're eating all the time. I have never recommended any of my patients follow a vegan diet. I can't see myself ever changing that. It's very complicated to make sure that your diet is safe and gives you all the nutrition that you need. I've been a nutritional scientist for 13, 14 years now. It would be very hard for me on a day-to-day basis to make sure I was meeting all my nutritional requirements.
So you think it's a case you'd have to take supplements to ensure that you're...
Most people would need to take some supplements. It's very difficult, very challenging to be fully nutritionally adequate on a vegan diet.
Do you guys all take supplements?
I use B12, but the rest of the time I've got a meal plan that I've written out so that I'm really aware of all the things that I'm eating every day. So
preparation, isn't it?
Yeah, and I feel really empowered by making that choice, because before I was just eating whatever. Now I'm like, I need to eat this much to get this much magnesium and this much iron, and if I eat chickpeas and these beans, I'm getting all the proteins I need.
Sounds exhausting.
I actually find it really empowering. It's really exciting.
I think it's really important to know that you can be healthy and a vegan, but you can also be unhealthy and a vegan. So there's not just a thing that say, right, I'm giving up all animal products that will make my diet healthy. So where you think about what you're having and you're including all the vital nutrients that you need, you can have a really good and healthy diet. And in fact, you know, scientific evidence does look at more plant-based diets, so not necessarily vegan, but more plant-based diets, because you'll be including a lot of fruit and veg, a lot of whole grains, a lot of beans and pulses. These are all the food groups that the government, that World Health Organisations, that like the World Cancer Research Fund will encourage people to include more plant-based in their diets, because they contain these vital nutrients. And we find that people that do follow more plant-based diets have lower rates of obesity, lower rates of cardiovascular disease. But it's very important when people are considering taking up vegan diets that they are aware of the nutrients that they could be lacking and make sure that they include foods.
And one of the important things is that if any of us or any of you spent that much time looking at your diet, whether you were looking at making it into a vegan diet or a much better balanced omnivore diet, so you're eating meat and fish, you would feel much better. It's not just because you've cut out all those things, it's because you're focusing on your diet and you're looking at the balance of your diet.
I don't take any supplements, any protein powders. I eat balanced. I don't think about it that much daily. It becomes second nature pretty quickly. And I think nature has it pretty much provided. If you are worried, you can look into it and you can take the supplements, and then eventually you quickly learn it. But it's the decision, for me, it's out of compassion. It's like you watched Doctor and you saw animals are suffering. It's no longer necessary, because you can make it work. And even if it is a bit of extra work in the beginning to make it work, you're doing that out of goodwill. You're doing it out of compassion, and that is an altruistic decision in life. And I think the rewards are just... they just grow and stem from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't comment on the ethical side of things. That's not my area at all. I'm probably a moral vegan, but apparently so many people.
I think everyone is a vegan at heart. No one wants to. Everyone's against animal suffering. You ask a single person in the streets of Britain, are you against animal suffering? Everyone would agree. It's just, what is the spectrum? Is it okay to kill it for food? Now we're realising we're all vegan and happy and healthy. 1 in 5 are considering it. You know, 1 in 20 probably is a vegan now in the UK, and no one's falling dead. No one's getting these ailments that you see cardiovascular.
We don't know the long term. There's not been this many vegans for a long. You know, this is the first time we've had this massive movement, so we don't really know.
And is it? I was just wondering as well, I'm a working mum, and I'm just thinking this sounds a flipping nightmare to me. Trying is bad enough to get my children to eat at the best of times. But it sounds like it takes a lot of planning. You said you had a meal plan. Working parents, I'm just thinking
I'm a researcher by nature, so that's my profession as well. So definitely I am that way. But it literally took me half a day, and then I'm set. Now I understand. I don't feel like it takes that much time in the long run. And like you were saying, you can easily incorporate it once you've read it, watch the documentaries. I don't think in the long term it's a difficult choice. It might take you short term.
I'm raw vegan, so I don't eat anything cooked, which is probably your nightmare. But I think I'm probably the healthiest one here.
Why are you raw vegan?
Healthy. I went vegan for animals and for the planet, because it's better for the environment and the animals. But I got caught up eating a lot of the vegan cheese in the process. As you said, veganism isn't necessarily healthier. So for me, I wanted to take that next step, and it was self-reflection that led me to veganism, because I was like, how can I be better? And then I got focused on trying to change other people and make everyone vegan. And I realised, hang on, I don't feel as good as I did initially. I'm getting caught up in all the vegan junk foods, and I'm trying to change other people. I need to work on myself. And so I addressed that and tried to change again to try something new. I'm not saying I'm going to stick it long term, but I feel I can only judge things on how I feel day to day, week to week. And if I feel good and feel better, then I think that's a sign that I'm doing something right. Maybe that 10 years down the line something changes, but I think life leads us to choose things day by day and how we feel in those moments.
Emily, how was that first shop that you went on as a vegan? Was it a challenge? Because we heard there's products out there, you get vegan cheese and things, but you must have spent a long time kind of working out.
Not really. I think once you've got the food in, you don't even think about like cooking with meat or anything like that. Once you've made that change, you go to the cupboards, there's chickpeas, there's an array of nuts and all this kind of stuff. It just makes sense. I think once I'd made that conscious decision, once I've figured out everything that happens, the animal suffering, looking into the meat and dairy industry, once that happens, like you said earlier, it clicks and you can't even think about it.
Leonardo da Vinci said simplification is the ultimate sophistication. And I think when you simplify your diet, you're only taking out animal products. It's like, 25% of your thing, and then you simplify and you start to appreciate food more and you get more creative with it.
Do you think it's realistic for working parents to do this?
I think it's a very personal decision, and I think that our role as nutritionists and dietitians is to support people to make their choices so that they're particularly when they've got families, and particularly when you have young children where bone health is so important, where there are clinical cases, rare, but there are clinical cases of very small children being B12 deficient, and they have quite serious neurological. So it is more difficult, but I think one thing to take is that plant-based diets, eating more plants.
We're right out of time. I'm being shouted at in my ear. We'll have to stop talking. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. BBC Newsroom Live is coming up next. Thanks for your company. I'll be back with you again tomorrow. Have a lovely day.
Sorry about that.